Game Changers Debunked? Find out from a lifestyle medicine cardiologist perspective right now. Hey everyone, this is Dr. Stephen Loam, lifestyle medicine cardiologist, and if it's your first time on this channel and you want to learn more about lifestyle medicine, evidence-based nutrition, chronic disease prevention and reversal, and a lot more, then smash that subscribe button, turn the notifications on so you don't miss anything. So this new documentary, Game Changers, directed by James Cameron, the same guy who directed the Titanic and Avatar, starring a lot of big celebrities like Arnold Schwarzenegger, Jackie Chan, Nikola Djokovic, and these huge athletes. Man, it's sure set to make a huge impact, hopefully on the whole nutrition world, but also on the sports world, and maybe in America in general. Completely getting rid of this myth that we need protein from animal sources and really clarifying that you could be strong while eating clean and healthy. So there's going to be a lot of criticism of this documentary. People are going to pick it apart and say, no, what about this, what about that? So I wanted to go over in this video 10 things that I think people are going to say to try to knock down the science and the different things that are talked about in the Game Changers. So let's get straight to it. The first thing, which I think the Game Changers does a phenomenal job of talking about, is the whole protein myth. As we know, protein, usually in America, we get it in our diet from animal products. But do we need to? Can we get it from plant protein? Which one's better? Do plants even have enough protein? Well, a normal female needs about 46 grams of protein per day, and a man about 56 grams of protein per day. But athletes, they need a ton more, right? So athletes in general need about 2 to 3 grams per kilogram body weight per day. And for men, that could be over 200 sometimes, and females approaching 200. It depends on your size. And so usually athletes get their protein from eating chicken and beef and dairy products and then taking protein supplements. Is that really the way that we need to go about doing this? Is there problems with it? First of all, so everybody's clear, all amino acids, the building blocks of protein, initially come from plants, right? Only plants can take nitrogen from the air and synthesize new amino acids. Then the animal eats the amino acids, puts together protein, then people generally eat the animal, and that's where they get their protein from. But animals don't make new amino acids, so all amino acids which make up protein initially originate from plants. So we have that clear. So there's two general approaches that people can take to get their protein in their diet. Most people eat animal products, beef, chicken, dairy products, but the baggage that comes with that is cholesterol, saturated fat, insulin like growth factor 1, TMAO, things that promote cancer growth and heart disease, not to mention killing sentient beings and destroying our planet through climate change. Well, the other approach is getting your protein from plants, beans, grains. They have a lot of protein. Vegetables have a lot of protein, right? But when you eat those things, you get no cholesterol. You get a lot of fiber in your diet, tons of micronutrients, and you do not promote cancer. You promote longevity. You do not promote heart disease. You don't clog your arteries with it, and of course, no sentient beings are harmed, and it actually helps to mitigate climate change. Just look at this example here. 2,000 calories of just brown rice and broccoli, which are not even high protein plant foods, are going to get you 80 grams of protein, right? That's quite a bit. And if we do a direct comparison of a more higher protein plant food to beef, for example, we're going to end up seeing that 4 ounces of beef versus 4 ounces of dry black beans have exactly the same amount of protein. Now, it's not the same once you soak the beans and cook them, but still, look how much protein is in the black beans. And the statement from the American Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics says straight out that vegan diets typically meet or exceed recommended protein intakes when caloric intakes are adequate. That's always the key. So let's do a quick example of somebody with a simple diet who's eating something like black beans and oatmeal, and that's it. Let's see how much protein and how many different amino acids you can get from that. So at a 2,000 calorie diet, that would end up being about 4 cups of black beans, and according to chronometer.com, that's 58.7 grams of protein. Look at the amino acid composition of just these 4 cups of black beans. You smash all of your essential amino acids, right? Now look at the 6.6 cups of oatmeal, which is 1,000 calories. That's 34.7 grams of protein. That ends up getting you not only 93.5 grams of protein per day, but 101 grams of fiber. And this is a 2,000 calorie per day diet. Most athletes are doing way more than that. Now let's look at a 3,000 calorie per day diet. 1,500 calories of black beans, which would be 88.1 grams of protein. It gets you even more of those essential amino acids. 10 cups of oatmeal in this example is 52.1 grams of protein, smashes your amino acid compositions, and then overall, that ends up being 143.2 grams of protein and 151 grams of fiber. Crank that up a notch because a lot of athletes are eating 4,000 to 5,000 calories per day. If you had 2,000 calories of black beans in your diet, that's 117.4 grams of protein, and 13 cups of oatmeal would be 69.4 grams of protein. You put all that together, in this example, you're getting 186.9 grams of protein with all of your essential amino acids, not to mention a crazy amount of fiber, which is so good for you. Now, nobody's really going to eat just black beans and oatmeal, right? But if you just eat adequate calories of whole plant foods, you get all the protein you need and all the amino acids you need. And just to debunk another myth here, according to the American Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, the terms complete and incomplete are misleading in relation to plant protein. Protein from a variety of plant foods eaten during the course of the day, not at one meal, just throughout the course of the day, supplies enough of all essential amino acids when caloric requirements are met. Now you see pictures like this all the time with elite athletes such as Ryan Lochte pounding down 10,000 calories a day. But that ends up being, in my estimate, looking at what he's eating, about 2,000 milligrams of cholesterol, 100 milligrams of saturated fat, and maybe he's getting 250, 300 grams of protein or so. Yeah, he can get his protein that way, but all the baggage that comes with it, I'm really worried about his cholesterol levels. And we know straight out through good science that plant protein is preferred over animal protein for overall cardiovascular health and overall mortality. And even white meat does still increase the risk of cardiovascular mortality. See my other videos and I'll explain that more in detail. But look at this, I'm going to point you towards some other YouTubers channels that are vegan bodybuilders and vegan athletes so you can see exactly what they eat in the day to get their protein intake. Check that out in the description below. Wow, that was only 0.1 out of 10, but I really wanted to smash that one down because the protein myth is the biggest one out there that we need to get over. So number 2 is that vegan bodybuilders built their muscle while they were eating meat, then they switched over to a vegan diet, and that's how they ended up being strong. But they didn't build a muscle eating plants, they built that muscle eating animals. Well, that may be true for most of these big bodybuilder athletes. That's not true for all. Look at Jahina Malik. She is quite strong and muscular. She was vegan since birth. Nimai Delgado was on the cover of Muscle and Fitness magazine. He was vegetarian since birth and has been vegan for quite a long time now. And there are quite a few athletes that just say, man, when they switch over to the vegan diet, they got stronger and stronger and stronger. Check it out.
I started working out when I was 47 years old. All the muscles you see, I gained as vegan. I gained 15 pounds of muscles on my body, eating all plant-based vegan foods.
Before I was vegan, I was only bench pressing 315 like 5 times. Then after going vegan, I was doing 400, 425. 465, and I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. I'm vegan and I'm bench pressing 465 pounds. This is ridiculous.
Point number 3, you can build muscle on a vegan diet, but it's not the ideal diet for building muscle. Really, an ideal diet has animal-based proteins in it. Well, show me the science. I don't think that exists, right? They don't have a randomized controlled trial putting hundreds of people on a vegan diet and having them do bodybuilding and checking their muscle versus an animal-based standard diet and seeing who builds more muscle. That science just simply isn't there. Granted, most bodybuilders have been doing animal-based diets for a long time and are quite strong and muscular, and vegan bodybuilders is a relatively new phenomenon, but they're clearly doing it. And veganism in general has only taken off recently, so how do we know which one's better? We really truly don't know. When you just take a step back and think about how many elite athletes follow a 100% plant-based diet, you kind of go, whoa, you know, that is kind of a lot of different elite athletes that do this. The general population in America is only about 1 to 2% vegan, but it just seems like to me that probably more than 1 to 2% of elite athletes follow plant-based diets, so maybe there is some truth behind it. Point number 4. All of these vegan athletes, they just take supplements, right? They're taking all these protein supplements. That's the only way they can get it, right? Well, we already talked about the whole protein thing, but let me ask you this question. How many bodybuilders who follow standard chicken, beef, dairy type protein diets, how many of them still take whey protein? Pretty much all of them, right? Most of those athletes are taking protein supplements. Whey protein supplements are about a $4 billion per year industry in America. It's absolutely massive. So it's not just plant-based athletes that take supplements, all athletes do. But as we saw previously, we really don't need to. You get all the protein you need from plant-based foods as long as you eat enough calories. Number 5, soy has estrogens in it, which makes it really hard to build muscle. And man, if I eat a lot of soy, if I go plant-based, I'm gonna grow some man boobs. Well, yes, soy does have phytoestrogens in it, but we know very clearly that they do not cause any feminizing effects in men. This has been examined quite a bit. And studies also show that the reproductive hormones, when analyzed in men who consume a lot of soy, don't really change too much. The testosterone levels don't go down. The estrogen levels don't really change. So there really is no overall effect on hormone levels. But we do know that soy consumption has been actually correlated with lower risk of cardiovascular disease and other medical issues. So it's a good thing to do, especially when you compare it to the effects of animal-based foods and animal-based protein. And look at this guy, Brian Turner. I'll put the link to this video in the description below. This guy pounded down a pound of soy every single day for a month, checked his testosterone levels, and went through the science pretty good in this video. So check it out. You can certainly eat a lot of soy when you're being a bodybuilder. And we do know that this guy, Nime Delgado, he eats a lot of soy, and look at how strong he is. All right, next, the erectile dysfunction seen in the Game Changers, that wasn't very scientific. It was just 3 college students eating different foods, measuring their erections at night to see what effect the foods would have on it. Well, yeah, I agree. There's no published randomized controlled trial doing this type of thing published in a journal, right? But it was a very powerful scene done by a pretty well-respected urologist. So this scene was phenomenal in the Game Changers. If you haven't seen it yet, what it was is they had 3 college football players eat a meal and then measure their erections at night with a ring at the base of the penis and a ring at the tip of the penis. The first meal was organic grass-fed beef. The second meal was a bean meal. And what we found is when they ate the bean meal, they had a 400% increase in the number of minutes that they had erections. And the circumference of their penis was 8% bigger just from one meal. Can one meal really have that much of an effect on blood flow and erections? Well, there's a lot of research that shows one meal itself can cause endothelial dysfunction, dysfunction of the lining of the arteries. It's been shown in the brachial arteries, it's been shown in the heart, and here we go. This is a real-life world example of how it can affect men. Man, one meal. It was hilarious, the discussion that they had. And there is a lot of good science to show that lifestyle changes can improve erectile dysfunction. This big study showed that 1/3 of people who changed their lifestyle, it wasn't even plant-based, had improvement in their sexual function. Okay, next. Plant-based diets are not necessary for the prevention of heart disease. You can eat Mediterranean-style diets or other diets, and that could be fine for the prevention of heart disease. Well, let me tell you, according to the American Heart Association and the American College of Cardiology, their guidelines for the primary prevention of cardiovascular disease actually recommend plant-based diets now. And the only diet that's ever been shown to reverse heart disease is a plant-based diet that's been published more than once. We know straight out in the USDA dietary guidelines that individuals should eat as little cholesterol as possible while consuming a healthy eating pattern, and upper limits of saturated fat and cholesterol were not set because any intake of saturated fat, which is mostly from animal foods, and cholesterol, which is all from animal-based foods, any intake above 0 increases LDL cholesterol concentrations, and the higher your LDL, the higher your risk of clogging your arteries and having a heart attack. The average American's around 125, and that gives them a significant risk of heart attack. But if you can keep your LDL crazy low from a young age, you're going to be very well protected. Okay, the next point is plant-based diets aren't for everyone. Not everybody can thrive on the same type of diet. Well, let me ask you this question. Do elephants all need different diets? Do gorillas all need different diets? Do horses all need different diets? No, they all get the same diet, right? Humans are exactly the same. We need a plant-predominant or plant-exclusive diet. And just one other side point, look how big these guys' muscles are. And guess what? They're 100% herbivorous. They get all the protein from plant-based foods. Now, according to the American Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, a well-balanced, 100% plant-based vegan diet is nutritionally adequate for all stages of life, including pregnancy, infancy, childhood, adolescence, and they say straight out for athletes. And I love this quote from Dr. Goldhammer, which was in the documentary What the Health. If you haven't seen it, check it out. If somebody is saying that they're feeling lousy or feeling sick eating a 100% plant-based diet, this is what he has to say.
It's unlikely that anybody's symptoms are caused by a dead, decaying flesh deficiency. The lack of highly processed animal food products in the diet is not going to be associated with the causal factor about why they're sick. There is going to be a reason why they're not feeling well, but that's not going to be one of them.
Come on, Dr. Loam, vitamin B12 is not adequate in a plant-based diet. You can only get it from animal-based foods, right? Well, no, not at all. I'm going to explain that quite well in an upcoming video, so be sure to subscribe so you don't miss that. So you're going to hear people saying straight out, this documentary is nothing but more vegan propaganda. Well, I agree that anecdotes, which are a lot of those in this documentary, are not really scientific. But show me some science to refute that these athletes or other athletes can be strong and perform at a high level on a plant-based diet. There's not a lot of strong science for or against it. So how can you call it propaganda? Now, in regards to the health aspects that are discussed and the climate change aspects that are discussed, there is strong science supporting the claims that animal agriculture contributes to climate change, and eating a plant-based diet is phenomenal for your health and the recommended way to eat. There's strong science supporting that. You can't show me any science against it. So when there is strong science for something, is it propaganda or is it just somebody promoting the proper science and the proper recommendations? And yeah, I'm sure that a lot of people who made this film are into animal rights, and they are a little bit of what they call ethical type vegans, meaning they don't eat animal products so they don't want to harm animals. There are probably some of them in this documentary. And what's wrong with that though? The science on the health aspect, the science on the climate change aspect is strong. The science on the athletic performance is okay, and certainly all these anecdotes that we're seeing are very, very powerful ones. What's wrong with also adding to it wanting to be a compassionate person and not harm any animals? For those of you that haven't seen it, check out the documentary called Dominion. It's on YouTube and it's free. And if you want to talk about, oh, we're meant to eat animals, we have these canines, and you can go through all these different excuses as to why people eat animals, check out the YouTube channel by Earthling Ed. And what you need to do is watch a series of videos that's called 30 Days, 30 Excuses. It's phenomenal, and it'll show you everything you need to know about the ethical aspects of plant-based diets. And last, animal agriculture is not a leading cause of environmental change. And this whole climate change thing is just a hoax, right? The earth is flat too. Is that right? No. Come on. Science clearly shows climate change is happening. It clearly shows it's related to man-made activity, human activity causing climate change. According to this large study published by the University of Oxford, the food system is a major driver of climate change, and plant-based diets are the way to solve the problem. Meat consumption needs to be reduced by 90% in order for them to achieve the climate targets in the Paris Agreement. This study by the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, which is of the United Nations, actually showed that the best diet to mitigate climate change is a vegan diet. It blows away all the other diets. And in this very thorough review recently published, a plant-based diet reduces food emissions by up to 73%, depending on where you live. And we could require 76% less farmland if everybody were to change to a plant-based diet. That would free up so much land. And again, let's go back to the statement from the American Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics. They said straight in there that plant-based diets are not only nutritionally adequate, but they are more environmentally sustainable. Check out the documentary Cowspiracy on Netflix. It's phenomenal. It explains all of it. Okay, Doc, I get it. But if you go on a plant-based diet and start eating all these beans, aren't you going to be creating some other type of greenhouse gas emissions, if you know what I mean? You know, beans, good for your heart. The more you eat, the more you... Well, let's clear the air on beans and gas. Check out this article from nutritionfacts.org. If you eat enough beans on a regular basis, the gas goes away. Well, I hope you liked this video about debunking the Game Changers Debunkers. It's a phenomenal documentary that has the potential to completely change the landscape of nutrition in the whole athletic world and maybe even America in general. Please shoot me a comment below. Let me know what you think. Did I forget another point in there that you've heard from people about the Game Changers? Is there anything else you'd like to add? Like the video, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss anything else, and keep on eating those plants. Let's save the planet. Let's save your health. Let's be good to the animals. See you next time.